ever. It's just, stop all this drag queen nonsense. Why have you got to have drag queens in schools? Anyway, so he took too long to come out and speak against it, so it alienated all the mad lefties, and by speaking against it, he alienated everybody on the right as well. So he pleased nobody, but he's certainly not...
Look, I have to say, it does look like Iger. I've did a little bit of research on him this evening, and it sounds like he's a pretty capable guy. I don't know why they got rid of him in the first place, but he didn't leave under a cloud.
He tried to retire for years, like 4 times. He kept on threatening to retire and whatever. But he comes from an entertainment background.
Yeah. Whereas, he's a weatherman.
Well, those are the best kind of.
Yeah. In America.
Yeah.
That would have been the north face of the Iger for his...
But you look at... but Disney is such a huge company and controls so much of our entertainment at the moment. And walking around Disneyland...
Even more than in our lifetime it's become. I mean, it was big when I was growing up, and now it also has their own Marvel
there was like a Marvel world, there was Star Wars, they're building a whole Frozen world. Yeah. Like, it's crazy. I just want to say, because I keep on seeing behind Leo's
Frozen World, is that where they keep Walt Disney then? Is that because he's supposed to be cryogenically...
Exactly. But I just want to say that in terms of this photo of them winning the match, I think is a protest that they did. It's very homoerotic.
Yeah.
If you could see the space between their groins, certainly 2 of them, I feel like that's their way of...
It's kind of iconic. I would be interested to know exactly where Sterling's groin is in that.
They're going to be beheaded. They're going to be beheaded in the stadium tomorrow.
Well, we have beheading news later, but certainly in the meantime, let's turn to the front page of The Guardian. Josh?
Yes, so one of the stories, of course, that they've got a nice big banner of woman.
Yeah.
So I guess Iranians know what a woman is. That's more than the rest of us. Good for them. But
ironically, by veiling them, they have brought their true essence into sharper relief.
Yeah,
perhaps.
Well, I wonder. It's interesting because in Iran, what they do with homosexuals is they force them to get sex transplants.
Right.
Like in the West, then.
So no, but I'm wondering if then they go. Those people who get the sex transplant, if they then have to wear the hijab, like they're going, well, you're not really. I don't know. Anyway, let's have a look into that. But we're going to talk about that.
But in all seriousness,
cover that sort of shadow.
The Iranian team made a genuinely defiant protest, considerably more brave, you have to say, than Kane and so on, not being willing to take a yellow card.
Yeah, no, we're going to talk about that, and just absolutely hats off to them because, like you say, just bravery. But the story we're dealing with here at the top is Raab facing fresh questions over behaviour whilst Justice Secretary. Essentially, he went into a meeting, kicked off, and then his... they had to call in. His assistant would call him afterwards and apologise to the Home Office and said they were really sorry because they were afraid it was all going to be pushed up the chain. So he just doesn't seem like a particularly nice human being.
It's funny how this is coming out now. I mean, it must have been known a bit more at the time.
Yes.
So there's obviously... It's always the case, isn't it? Somebody's briefing against him.
But this is happening at a time when they still haven't filled in this independent ethics advisor.
Yeah, right.
So that's been emptied for 5 months
The one that Johnson got rid of.
Yeah.
I can't be having one of these.
It's a real drag on my behaviour.
It turns out.
But, look, I guess, you could argue this is high power and they've got to make decisions and all that stuff. But you can still treat people like human beings.
Absolutely.
And also, the question becomes, at what point does it actually affect your job? And there are real questions now raised as to whether the whole withdrawal from Afghanistan was badly affected because of his behaviour. Right. And that's people... possibly even dying.
Yeah.
And if that's because he's essentially can't control himself or feels a need for ego and...
I completely agree. There's a complete difference between being decisive and not sort of clogging up the process with unnecessary,
But these people aren't human beings. They're civil servants. They're robots, automatons, state apparatchiks.
In which case, there's no point in shouting at them. You're not going to activate any emotional response to them either way, are you?
Yeah. The only way you can deal with them is firing them, I think. But I think this is bullying, toxic behaviour. It's like, come on, you're in the upper echelons of government. Like, people have got to be free to express themselves in a concise yet loud way.
And they did, because they all left.
I would agree, exactly, and I would agree with that if the last 12 years had been an otherwise unblemished administration and the price we paid was that some people, used some unreconstructed masculine modes and tropes in order to issue orders. But
maybe it would have been worse.
Such an absolutely, torrid time. of unsettled government that you can't help thinking, well, maybe we should address some of these. Do you know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
I mean,
if they had the results to back it up, you could sort of almost...
I mean, you heard about that. Gordon Brown used to have a terrible temper when he was running the Exchequer, but that was a pretty successful time until it wasn't.
Successful? What was the global banking collapse? Was that the successful bit?
Got a shot of all that gold. Remember that? The bargain price. Stop the expense of replacing the floorboards. What is the front page of the Daily Mail looking like?
So we've got the football again, but we've also got, as cost of living bites and taxes rise, outrage as it's revealed you pay for MPs' Christmas parties. I mean, who did they think was going to pay for MPs' Christmas parties? I thought that would be a given. But yeah, apparently MPs have been claiming more expenses than ever before. So the total bill for MPs' allowances rose to £138.6 million last year as more staff were taken on to handle casework. Quite often a wife or a son of the MP. So it's like, but we sort of know that it's just an extra bit of money in their pocket because MPs, despite what you'll read in The Guardian, they're actually underpaid considering the job they do. So, like somebody like Sajid Javid, he took a 98% pay cut to become an MP. Right. And really, if you want to attract, good people to the position, which we don't seem to be doing.
I think you make it on the back end, though.
Either got to allow them to shout and bully the staff, or you've got to pay them well.
Or have a good Christmas party. But they're not allowed to buy alcohol. That's a big thing. They can buy drugs. That's totally fine.
Like
as long as they get receipts for the drugs, it's okay.
Is FIFA running this?
That's little wraps with the portcullis branding on them. So finally, we'll have a look at the Daily Telegraph. That's you, Josh, and I'm afraid it's started to get repetitive now. But
so more football. A little interesting thing here about Shell reconsidering its UK investment. Basically, Hunt has raided Shell for 55 billion. I mean, they're still making another 5,000 billion trillion, whatever.
But
that's always the threat that they were like, oh, well, if you're going to take this money, we're not going to invest. I think that they probably still are. But the big story is Starmer, UK must wean itself off migrant labour. This is Starmer giving a talk to the Confederation of British Industry, the CBI conference. And he basically says, low pay and cheap labour are over. And this is really to us, or actually people probably out in the Red Wall, to say, hey, we're going to control immigration. But, of course, the argument is it's very complicated because he's saying that, of course we want to get more skills and bring in our own skilled workers and stuff, but it doesn't take skills to pick fruit. And if we want our fruit cheap, then you have to pay the workers cheap, and that isn't really covered.
We're right on the cusp of a mechanical automation revolution on that sort of front, aren't we? Just a few more years,
they're
but it's
just
not quite
developing the claw that won't crush a plum, and then we won't need all these. But I mean, it's refreshing to see a Labour leader actually referencing the fact that if you have uncontrolled immigration, it pushes wages down. An uncapped labour supply, obviously, like any market, is going to push wages down, and that's something that the left have ignored for years.
Well, we knew it as middle-class people. We all knew that was the conservatory syndrome, wasn't it? So many people I knew, including myself, whatever you felt about it on a sort of philosophical level or whatever, the principle, staying in Europe did mean cheap conservative.
And you can understand how people, certainly in the Red Wall, then voted for Brexit and then voted for the Tories. And it makes total sense.
If you're a builder and you've got a house, 3 kids, a wife, 2 cars, and all that to sustain, if there are people from Eastern Europe living, 3 to a room, working and sending the money back home, they're obviously going to be able to undercut what you need.
And if you've got their number, if you could give them to me.
And they do great work as well. Anyway, that's it for part 1. Enough of the golden days. Join us after the break. Complaining Iranians, voting children, and all the other top stories you won't want to miss. See you in a couple of minutes.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Friday and Sunday night from 9, it's Mark Dolan Tonight.
We're on the same page again. There's something weird happening.
Let Ian finish. Don't be such a cranky.
That mini budget was the tip of the iceberg.
And on Saturday, my show just got bigger. From 8, it's Mark Dolan's Saturday Night In.
You can't govern a country if you can't speak. Stop talking.
My God, we reached the end. I've never been early in my life. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
And it's about standards and public life. No, I'll tell you what's hypocrisy, Narinda.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin.
We believe in the UK.
No bias, no censorship.
It just doesn't make sense to me. He wasn't doing his job as Chancellor.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton Tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Simon Evans. I'm joined with my good friends Leo Kearse and Josh Howie. So let's crack on with Tuesday's stories. We jump back in with Tuesday's, which one? I don't know. Can we define Islamophobia, Josh? Which paper is this in?
This is in the Eye. Michael Gove urged to crack down on hate crimes against Muslims by adopting formal Islamophobia definition. This has actually been going on since about 2019 when the government indicated that that's what it would do. We are in Islamophobia Awareness Month. That's in November. November being a very busy month for moustaches and Trans Awareness Week.
Is it like Movember and Islamophobia at the same time?
Everything's just
Mohammed
Some people are feeling they're being mocked, and it turns out
that's a very good joke.
I'm going to say it again.
Sorry.
Mohammed Vember. Thank you.
Very good.
But anyone growing a moustache in order to raise awareness of prostate cancer might look as if they were actually taking the mickey out of people of Middle Eastern origin who are quite fond of moustaches. These things can have a terrible blowback.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Maybe changing months for it.
Yeah.
So there's a recent statistic that hate crimes against Muslims in the UK rose by 42% last year. Jews 49%. Not that it's a competition, right?
Might be some crossover
we
there.
Win.
Might be.
Strangely, yeah, it might win. Yeah, would be strange, that, isn't it?
And what would be particularly interesting if you were to look at those statistics would be to look at how many of the hate crimes against Jews were.
And actually, last week it's been revealed that I don't know if you remember last year, but they were driving through central London, some cars saying that they were going to find Muslim mothers, bring out your mothers and daughters, we're going to rape and kill them, and those people are now not being prosecuted.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So that might
wonderful
be part
time
of
to
the
be
definition
Jewish.
of Islamophobia.
Well, let's look at this definition of Islamophobia they're talking about. They're saying Islamophobia. This is what the working thing that they're trying to push through.
Yeah.
The Islamophobia is rooted in racism and is a type of racism that targets expressions of Muslimness or perceived Muslimness. And the reason why...
What on earth is Muslim?
Well, this is this. I mean, first of all, it's not rooted in racism.
Yeah.
You could argue, yes, of course, Islamophobia is a type of prejudice, it's a type of bigotry, but it's not about racism specifically. So that's a terrible thing. And the idea that expressions of Muslimness or perceived Muslim, it makes it, it's like, well, what exactly does that entail? You really have to get down to the nitty-gritty on this.
Yeah.
And the IHRC, which is the working definition of anti-Semitism, that's like pages and pages worth of stuff to really give examples and stuff because it's so complicated. And the same here, just this kind of like, this idea of expressions of Muslimness is way too loose. And that's what Michael Gove had a problem with, and that's why it's such a hard thing to define.
Well, I mean, I remember it's only about 20 years ago, Christopher Hitchens, there's still a clip on the TV. It's the first time I'd heard him say, watch out for this, this new word is coming along now, Islamophobia, and you'll be all expected to obey that and to be careful what you say about this tyrannical, this bloodthirsty medieval... You know, he was really... he wrote a whole book about all the mistakes made by all the major religions, but he was very clear that you have to fight fight tooth and nail to maintain the right to speak freely in opposition to any ideology. It's not a race. It's not. It's not an unchangeable characteristic.
And also, part of the increase in hate, they say it's risen by 42%, but the population is increasing. So there's going to be an increase, even if the rate stays the same. And by 2050, it's projected to be the largest religion in the UK. But I mean, all this Islamophobia, I don't get it. I mean, what have Muslims ever done?
And we'll move on. Next, we go to the Telegraph. And after the England players bottle their protest at the first sign of trouble, Alex Scott picks up their slack, Leo, it seems.
So Alex Scott is the BBC World Cup pundit and former England women's captain. Oh, we've got a women's football team. That's nice. So she wore the One Love armband, which is banned, a different spelling, by FIFA during the coverage of the men's team's Qatar 2022 opener against Iran. So she, even though the team of men were scared to defy FIFA, she, a female woman, was happy to go in.
She can't be getting a yellow card. She's a pundit. She's under no threat. There's nothing FIFA can do her.
She could get fired.
Well, I suppose she could.
FIFA could be like...
By FIFA.
They could say, listen, the guy from FIFA could come out and be like, listen, I'm black, I'm disabled, I'm a woman, and you got to fire her.
I like that, though, the band with a different spelling. I think it should be called that, the armband. Well, this is all just getting spiralling out of control, isn't it?
Yeah, it was...
Especially after an opening match in which we... An absolute, like a landslide result, and all anyone can talk about is these ridiculous armbands.
I think the idea was that this was going to be like their one moment of protest against, and now even that's gone. And I think that's why people
and
are
as we said earlier, I mean, compared to Iran, who just stood there and refused to sing.
Absolutely, we'll talk about that. But but Qatar has revealed themselves essentially, and people talk about sports washing. I think this has massively backfired. I think that they've seen what kind of regime Qatar is. Sorry to bring it back to things, but they banned kosher food there. They banned Jewish prayer there. They are an intolerant...
Can you even fly in from Israel?
That's the one thing they've done, but Israeli journalists are being...
It's got to be on an ICBM.
But Israeli journalists are being hassled in the street, so it's just showing that it's an intolerant society.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that footballers are able to make political statements, because I want to know what the political opinions are of spoilt 22-year-olds who are only good at kicking a ball. I mean, that's the most important. Them, pop stars, Hollywood actresses. I mean, why would I want to know from a politician or an economist?
See, I was hoping that you would be inspired and take the knee right now.
I am. I'm just so tall.
Oh, yeah.
Stay the same height.
That's it. He's had the stool removed. But it is interesting. I mean, actresses and actors, they are, yes, absolutely. They think that their voice is worth hearing. And they are people whose greatest talent is learning other people's words.
Yeah, putting on a hat. Playing dress up.
And footballers, with all due respect, it is important to their job that they do what they're told. I mean, the success of the team absolutely relies on them all being of a single, they have a consensus. So it's absurd that we should understand that they have any kind of input on an individual level.
And it really sort of reveals the lie behind virtue signalling that, they'll take the knee, they'll wear the armband in the UK, in the West, where the battles have already been won, but they won't wear the armband in Qatar, where it's just, they get money for doing it in the UK and they get money for doing it in Qatar.
It's exactly the same, of course, to be fair, with Apple products, with BMW, all of these people who put the rainbow flag on their logo when the month comes around, but not in the Middle East. We move on to The Independent now, and the Iranians show the English how it's done, not football, obviously, but protesting. So this is building you onto this.
Absolutely. The Iran team refused to sing national anthem ahead of the England game in anti-regime protest. Now, this is what actual bravery looks like. They are going to be going back to their country. Their 400 protesters have been killed. 16,800 have been arrested. And this is a huge deal for them to not sing along to that song, remaining silent. There were other people there, supporters of theirs, who had protests, and posters and women, life, freedom, and also the captain stood up and before in an interview and talked about the regime and whatnot. I mean, that's bravery.
Yeah.
And so okay, they might be rubbish at football.
Yeah.
But they've shown themselves.
They've got a couple of goals in anyway.
Yeah. We let them in. I didn't actually watch it. I was really happy. This was the football match was occurring during the school run. So I was like, this is amazing.
And yet, like, Iranian sports people have come a cropper before from making a political statement. There's an Iranian climber, a woman, who climbed without her hijab, which I thought, I mean, if you're going to do rock climbing, like a hijab's going to be a tricky thing to do it in. But anyway, she was punished when she got back to Iran. So we don't know what happened, because, I mean, the Iranian regime is really doubling down. They've actually sentenced the arrested protesters to be executed. They haven't done it yet, but they've sentenced them to death.
You have to wonder whether this team might end up defecting to the West. It's getting very much like an old-fashioned Cold War scenario, isn't it?
Well, you just need to get on something that floats. And
was it with a Colombian goalkeeper? Am I remembering that rightly? Who was assassinated by a hit squad on the because he failed to.
That's right. With the big hair.
Yeah. Anyway, just that flashed into my mind, not quite appropriate in hindsight. In Tuesday's Mirror Next, and after Saudi Arabia promises to cut back, it looks like they've been mostly cutting neck.
Oh, yeah. It's funny because they killed 12 people with a sword. So Saudi Arabia has executed 12 people with swords. They used the sword to execute them. The people didn't have swords. Even after Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman promised to not do it. So the defendants, all males, were killed after being imprisoned for drug offences. And, you know, these are likely not massive drug offences. They're incredibly strict in Saudi Arabia. But yeah, the number of executions in Saudi Arabia, despite, you know, them trying to push this image of being, you know, becoming more modern and opening up, they're killing, more.
Opening up.
some carotid arteries. But so they had a mass beheading of 81 criminals on March the 12th, and more than 70% of the victims were killed for their involvement in non-fatal crimes. And 41 men were slaughtered for taking part in pro-democracy demonstrations. So Saudi Arabia is just, you know, horrific. I mean, it's bound to have the World Cup next, but it's a horrific regime.
It is interesting, though, isn't it? There's never any question of boycotting oil.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because, they've executed 12 people in 10 days. This is like a Christmas thing, I think. And, but yes, Rishi Sunak, when he was hanging out with Mohammed bin Salman last week, you know, there was like, was he going to mention the assassination of the journalist? No, what he did was he said, please give us more oil.
So at least he didn't put his hands over the orb. Do you remember that, when Trump went over there?
Did
it? 2000s, there were photographs of him with this glowing... It was the most weird thing. I still can't believe it's true, but there are...
Miss Trump.
That's all for part 2. Coming up after the break, we have emotional manipulators, dubious dinosaurs, and Kanye is back at it. Stay tuned. See you in a couple of minutes.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store. You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Monday to Thursday, 10 till 12, on TV, on radio and online.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm still Simon Evans, and they are still Leo Curse and Josh Howie. Let's get back into it. Next in the Daily Mail, should they give the vote to Pee-wee Kiwis?
New Zealand court rules voting age of 18 discriminates against young people. So this is, they're going to basically lower the age to 16. This is the Supreme Court. And it's an interesting one. My instincts tell me this is a really stupid decision. First of all, this whole idea of discriminating against, like that's the thing now. Anything that's discriminating against, but it's like my 5-year-old son wanted sweets, but that means I'm discriminating against him by denying it. I just think when I was 16, I was an idiot. When I was 20, I think the voting age should go up, if anything.
I think it should tighten around the middle. I am already getting too old to vote. I think I've got a couple of general elections in me. I can't be bothered to read all the detail anymore. There was a time when I had a programme, when I had a vision for what the country was. Now I just want it all to stop. So, but seriously, I mean, I think there should be an upper limit for President of the USA, definitely. I think there should be an upper limit for the voting age. I think at about 70, probably around 50. Even certainly after that, I think you should have to a bit like a driving licence.
Check your eyesight, see if you know who the Deputy Prime Minister is.
I think anything like that comes in and it puts blocks on democracy is dangerous. Could be co-opted by people. But we've got to face the fact. And this is happening in the UK as well. So in Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon is trying to. It is for another few years. But she's trying to lower the age of voting because young people are idealistic and they're gullible and they're idiots. So you can convince them, we're going to create this wonderful utopia, and they'll all be like, oh yeah, this is wonderful, free Wi-Fi,
and
then vote for them.
They're very much on the same page, aren't they? They're of the same mind, and they think that left-wing populism, which is essentially what they sell, will be supported by the young. They don't realise that the young. I mean, Hitler would have got nowhere without the young, right? I mean, that was absolutely essential to his. You can swing the young either way. They can get behind a programme, but they just look at what
happened in China during the Cultural Revolution.
Terrifying.
That's how he utilised their stupidity, their youth, their ignorance. To murder millions of people.
We should send them. We should send them back down the mines. All these children, having all this time above ground to sit around.
Rope apart.
I don't even think it had a purpose. It was just to punish them.
Just to demoralise little tykes.
It's a great idea.
Next in the Telegraph, Kanye's kosher comeback causes chaos. Josh.
Yes, so Kanye West is now back on Twitter and he posted Shalom, which is Hebrew for peace. I think he might have been ironic.
He's teasing. I think he's teasing.
I think he is a little bit teasing there. Elon Musk liked it. This is on a day where black Hebrew Israelites, hundreds of them, marched through New York. They are responsible for the murder of a couple of Jews in New York, 2019.
So is their beef that the black Israelites, are the real Jews?
Well, that's what they say. They believe that they've had it stolen away from them. This links to Farrakhan, who Kanye is a sort of follower of, also Dave Chappelle, who did this horrible Saturday Night Live.
And the Hebrew Israelites,
the nature of Islam, isn't it?
The Hebrew Israelites, their leader looks like a Street Fighter character. Have you seen Jesus?
So they've got that sort of 80s...
It's crazy, big shiny
so they believe that Jews have taken their role as the real, the real Jews, and they also think that Jews were responsible for slavery and all.
Does this come from Noah? There are 3 sons, right? One of them goes into Africa. Is it part of that, or is it something else?
It's not. I mean, I think it's just more insidious. It's just like we literally start. No, I think it comes even later than that. So, but of course, the black Hebrew Israelites weren't exactly asking to replace real Jews in the Holocaust. So, it's. It's disturbing. Look, it's such a tricky one because, the reason, people argue about, like, Trump has also obviously been allowed back on Twitter, although he hasn't tweeted yet. And there are arguments about whether he backed that but even whether it was an insurrection or the protests on January 6th. Kanye West said, I'm going to go DEFCON 3 on Jews. Now, that seems to me like a pretty unilateral call-out for violence or for against
he did say, I'm going to have a sleep. I'm feeling sleepy
because
now.
he needed his strength.
Which sort of took the sting out of it. Hitler never started.
I would rather deal with a tired Kanye West.
But Hitler was never at a Nuremberg rally saying, listen, guys, I'm feeling a bit sleepy now, but tomorrow...
You know why? Because he was on so much speed.
Yeah,
that's why. Yeah.
So let's keep Kanye away from speed.
But then, of course, and Kanye West has been coming out with more and more anti-Semitic stuff, and in these interviews, it's not like he's relented. This isn't him just going, "Oh, it's over now."
No, he seems to have a genuine beef. I mean, it is these things do test. These things do test our understanding of free speech. We all kind of think, well, we like free speech, and then there's always something that makes us go,
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting. I mean, even Musk is not allowing Alex Jones back on because he regards the Sandy Hook outrage as being beyond the pale in a way that... So, I don't know. And Ayatollah
Khomeini, whatever, he's on Twitter. He's got a regime calling for the murder of all Jews. Yeah.
In the Mail now, a psychologist reveals the tactics of emotional manipulators. Honestly, don't listen to her. You love me.
So, is your partner an emotional manipulator? So this psychologist has revealed the 6 traits they all have in common. So when you first meet them...
women?
When you first... more than likely. When you first meet them, a manipulator will be on their best behaviour. So look out for somebody who's on their best behaviour. You want an oafish...
Get away from that.
You want an oafish brute. Also, they love power. So if somebody got electricity in their house, it's a big warning sign there.
Yeah.
They like to plug things in. They make you question your reality. So if they ever give you magic mushrooms or literature...
That dress makes you look thin.
Yeah.
Also, this is gaslighting, which doesn't work anymore with dimmer switches because you just go up and turn it back up again.
Also another one is they have an underdeveloped conscience, so they don't know if they're awake or not. And that's so there's only 5.
Yeah, so it's gaslighting because they said
gaslighting and psychopath, basically.
Well, gaslighting that there were going to be 6. And then it turned out there were only 5.
And funnily enough, gaslighting is one of these... Do you know what gaslighting is? So it's basically when you call a woman crazy and she says, oh, you're gaslighting me. But quite often, women are crazy. So you've got to be able to call them crazy. At the moment, now, because this gaslighting thing, you can't... You just got to sit there while they're keying your car or stabbing you in the neck with scissors. You've got to say, I hope you're finding this empowering.
That's interesting, because I thought gaslighting could go both ways. I didn't see it as a particularly gendered thing.
Oh, come on. You ever seen a man accuse someone of gaslighting? Apart from you did just then.
No, but being accused of...
Well, the plot of Gaslight, the actual movie it comes from, is fascinating, and it's a very, very long-haul game this guy plays. It's a very carefully worked-out, long, sophisticated...
Like the twits when they cut the little thing, or add the things to the bottom of the chairs.
Just kind of going, you're crazy. That's not good enough. First of all, you've got to undermine her sense of reality by like soaring a little bit off the end of her broom each day.
Right. We're getting a lesson.
I'm growing taller.
Does your wife have a broom?
Yeah, of course, she's got a number of brooms.
Have a Merry Christmas.
Talking of emotional manipulators, we're told to act like women now. In their times... Josh?
Yes, act like a woman to get ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, I did read that right.
Get some head,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Says President of the Girls' School Association. So, yes, everyone will benefit if more of our leaders act like women, or indeed are women. Well, I would suggest that that's not the case in recent history.
Act like women has become a bit of a loaded term in that respect.
Exactly.
She's not talking about trans, is she? So it's a different...
No, so... I have I mean, look, there's arguments here. Of course, I think there's some of these traits that she's allocating. This is Hanbury's. She's the headmistress of Lady Eleanor Holles School in South West London. She classes them as feminine traits, working collaboratively, being democratic, decision-making together, empathy. I'd argue those are all positive qualities.
I wouldn't say they're women's qualities.
The thing is that's it. Her allocating it solely to women or whatever, and saying that individualistic people, ultra competitive. I've worked in many companies, and I've pretty much sometimes been the only man working there. Women are just as bad as men, or if not more. This whole idea of toxic masculinity, there is such a thing as toxic, but working in that environment, that I don't know if I can say the B word, but there's B-ness and gossip, cruelty. I mean,
toxic masculinity is an interesting phrase in itself, which seems to me to be kind of derived from what is normally perceived to be the bad side of femininity. Because bad masculinity is normally violence, right? It's not toxic. Toxic is a word you would use for whispering campaigns, for poisoning people's reputation. That's what it suggests to me. And toxic masculinity suggests to me a kind of weirdly feminine distortion of what should be healthy masculine virtues.
And also, we're going to need toxic masculine men when, like, you know, Russia could invade, China could invade. You're going to need some men who are good at fighting, good at punching, you know, Chinese soldiers in the face.
And I think this is interesting, though. I will support her in this respect. I think, I don't know what entirely the context, but I think she might be attempting to reassert the fact that women are good enough as women in traditional... You know, just be who you don't need to act like a man in order to get ahead in business. And that's what a man is perceived to be, i.e. shouting like Dominic Raab.
Well, the evidence here suggests that. A 2020 Goldman Sachs study showed that female-led investment funds outperformed all-male teams. And Australian studies suggest that countries that are led by women suffered fewer COVID-19 deaths. I mean, of course, there were other
They're probably, if they're led by women, they're probably high, they're luxury, it's a luxury thing to have, isn't it? It's a high-functioning liberal democracy before it starts, and then it elects... But on the other hand, this is one private theory before we move on. It does annoy me when you get films like Wonder Woman and stuff, which basically go, oh, look, women can be just as badass as men, and then you just see women with implausibly high, you know, massive upper body strength and stuff. I understand girls like to go and see exciting movies, but it would be quite interesting to see, like, a movie which said, well, maybe actually solving problems with violence isn't, like, a very helpful skill set nowadays. It's a fantasy that men like to see. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to try and create movies that kind of go, actually, women are great as well, well, maybe you should...
You should take over Disney.
Yeah. I go woke. Next up in The Guardian, an ancient skeleton seems very unreliable.
So
it's not Joe Biden, it's another spooky dinosaur.
So Christie's, the auction house, has cancelled a T-Rex skeleton auction after doubts have been raised. So it was £20 million this T-Rex skeleton cost. That's just the bones. You don't even get the flesh with that.
But they get the growl.
They say, I mean, the trouble with old skeletons of dinosaurs is very few are complete. So they just, you know, they'll have like a femur and a few ribs, and they'll fill in the rest with plaster of Paris. But this one, well-known paleontologist, they don't have his... well, I've never heard of him. Yeah. But he raised concerns that parts of it looked similar to another dinosaur. Well, of course it did. It's dinosaur bones.
They look pretty
similar,
look the same.
Yeah, even I know that, and I'm not even a paleontologist.
What is he saying? Some of these bones have been literally copied. They're casts.
He reckons they're taken from another dinosaur or casts from another dinosaur.
That's sloppy, isn't it? If you were going to copy one, you should at least, like, gouge out a few extra bits. You know what I mean?
Tooth marks or whatever.
A little bit.
Not assemble this chimera, a bony chimera.
I don't even know if they're not the bones, are they? Anyway, a bone rots, creates a cavity in the mud into which a different sort of stone... So, do you know what I mean? There's no actual bones, they're made of stone anyway.
But it looks like the bone.
Yeah.
It's like a plaster of Paris cast.
Keep recasting it. It's not original... Do you know what I mean? It's not got the DNA of the dinosaur.
Right.
These things are all essentially casts.
But it was
all bones in all museums are cast. Bones rot.
But it was cast by God.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a difference.
Unless you got God down at the Arts and Crafts group.
Would you like a dinosaur? I quite like one, I must admit. I wouldn't have room for a T-Rex.
What, a live one or...?
No, a scared, you know,
dead one,
I think it'd be quite a cool thing.
Well, anybody who's got little kids, you can tell them tomorrow or today when you're watching this, that T-Rex has 380 bones. That's something for you to discuss over breakfast.
In each foot.
That in between their teeth.
Yeah,
of little animals.
Those are the ones I want. I might just buy a pair of the little arms to hang me towels on or something like that. Anyway, that's it for part 3. Coming up, we've got the big break for Bigfoot hunters, PETA protests, and the cure for ageing is finally in. Hold tight, folks. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
I think I've seen probably quite enough of Matt Hancock to last me a lifetime.
I'll also be getting to know you better, travelling to find out what you think about the politicians who are fighting for your vote.
They've got to get this country back on track.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. only on GB News, on TV, radio and online.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing. You see, amazing.
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Welcome back to the final part of Headliners. I'm Simon Evans, taking you through Tuesday's top stories in the company of Headliners residents Leo Kearse and Josh Howie. Let us crack on with the final section. We dive back in with the Daily Mail now. And should we be covering our phone cameras in the theatre, Josh?
Well, arguably, we should just keep our phones in our pockets. But theatre goers are told to put stickers over their phone cameras for the David Tennant play where he wears a Nazi uniform. And there were some photos that were taken in the rehearsals that have been shared on social media.
Right.
I just think that people should have the etiquette for that 2 hours or so, just to keep their phones away. At the end of it, they do allow people to get their phones out and take photos and whatever.
For the curtain call.
For the curtain call, which is fair enough. There's a question here about whether it's to do with him not wanting photos of him out there in this Nazi uniform. Interestingly, Eddie Martin, who's a great actor, he was fighting Corbynites, basically, defending Jews. And all the Corbynites would constantly put up these photos of him in various films going, is this you? Like it was a big gotcha because he played a Nazi or something.
Shrek.
Yeah, exactly. It was so ridiculous. Like, yes, that's my job. I'm an actor. But they were being literal about it. That's how thick they are.
I mean, we always say, like, oh, they should get a real gay person to play this gay person. Like, couldn't they get a real Nazi?
A real Nazi?
There's quite a few out there at the moment.
Well, that's what we're told. If you read The Guardian.
If you read The Guardian.
On your CV.
See my timeline, mate.
But seriously, it is absolutely infuriating. People take photographs of everything every day. And if you go to a concert, of course, musical concert now, all you can see is like a sea of cameras, and they catch the eye. I find that, like, because they're bright.
Well, a lot of comedians, so Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, there's a company, a guy called Charlie, I can't remember what the company's called, but they actually put your phone in a lockable, it locks, so you've still got your phone on you, but you can't get it out of this locked pouch.
And it springs open at the end.
Yeah, then they've got a magnet thing, like the thing at the supermarket on the bottles of gin, so then, they unlock it when you go out.
Well, I thoroughly endorse that. Anyway, good luck to David Tennant surviving that. We stay with the Mail now, and our PETA are sticking their beaks into your Christmas turkey, Leo.
Yeah, so animal rights group PETA are trying to spoil Christmas now as well. They've launched a Christmas ad to encourage people not to eat gentle, gracious and spirited turkeys.
It's the yummiest kind.
Yeah, I'll just eat the other ones. This is no problem.
No, eat those ones. Those are the best. They're relaxed ones.
I'll just eat the miserable ones with the big wrinkly necks.
Spirited. I think that's the Christmas pudding, isn't it? Rather than the... you don't want to put too spirited turkey to it, yeah.
So they put this advert out that's been shown in cinemas, probably online as well, and it's like the sort of John Lewis advert, but if it was made by idiots. So it starts by showing an abattoir-bound lorry packed with the animals in a nod to the turkey's reputations as excellent mother. I've never heard that reputation in my life. They're just making stuff up. I don't know, like, why are they trying to make us eat vegan food? Christmas is the one time of year when, like, anybody surely can eat some nice food, because vegan food isn't nice food. It's the food you put on your plate next to your nice food and you scrape into the bin once you've eaten your nice food. A little vegan cooking tip: if you mix some tahini in with your vegan food, it actually makes it easier to scrape into the bin.
Right, Josh, do you have a view on this?
Yeah, I mean,
does your family indulge in a turkey at Christmas?
We do.
Yeah.
We do the. We do both. We do Hanukkah and Christmas as well.
What's Hanukkah?
What's Hanukkah? It's
what do you have for Hanukkah?
What do we do? What do we eat for Hanukkah? You have like donuts and apples and you have various other things. Yeah. The usual chicken.
My usual.
But this advert is rated 12A, so it's pretty hardcore.
Right.
And this
must show some breast.
Very good. And but yes, the turkey becomes a beloved companion animal instead of being slaughtered and eaten.
Oh,
but
nice.
maybe I'd like to see the second part of this advert where it gets big enough and then it gets too delicious.
Well, we go to Tuesday's Metro now, and a man spends 1,500 quid to stop the ageing process. Now, that is expensive. My Botox guy will do it for 200 quid a month. But does it work?
And my wife spends about £2,000 a month. Well, no, but spends a lot. And it's worth every penny, honey. You're beautiful.
She's raising your, perceived market value off the back of it as well.
Oh, you think so? You think it reflects?
Yeah.
So this is a guy called Leon Karita Goodlock. He's 36 and he believes in biohacking. It talks about the 5 stages of biohacking here.
Okay.
Number 1 is, and he talks about his motivation for it, and he says his mum died when she was 70 of cancer and his dad died of 86. I'm thinking, mate,
they did all right.
Pretty good genes there. Sounds like it's all right, but he wants those extra few years.
What's the first stage?
So the first stage is to basically watch your diet and start doing some fasting, and that's something that everyone can do. I was doing that a couple of months ago.
Fasting is very good.
It does work, and also this like intermittent fasting thing, that really works. And also eating things like brown rice, just eating healthier. The next level 2 is where you start going up to something called red light therapy. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Supposedly that helps you stop the aging. I don't know, infrared therapy. And then you also take supplements. So you're taking the pills. I haven't got to level. Are you on level 2? You're on level 2, no pills?
I've done a bit of fasting. I'm not doing any pills.
You're not going level 2?
I take pills, but you know.
You've taken the red pill, haven't you?
I've taken a bunch of pills. I don't think any of them made me healthier. But this guy, he says he drinks water and black coffee to suppress his hunger and enjoys a mainly Japanese diet with foods such as brown rice, seaweed, miso soup, meat, fish, fruit and veg. It's like, dude, just enjoy. You're going to live to 100, but you're going to have a horrible time eating this like boring food.
And I've seen pictures of him. He doesn't even look that good at the moment. Does he, either? Do you know what I mean? He doesn't look like he's glowing with health. He looks he looks actually slightly like he's had work.
Well, he wakes up he says he wakes up at 4 o'clock every morning. I mean, that is not... If you want to live long...
Cursing his
life. Sleep and napping.
Yeah.
Daily Star now. Man has spent 32 years living with no electricity or running water. I wonder if he looks any better. This could be a story from Scotland, Leo. Though.
Well, funnily enough, in my village where I grew up, there was 2 sisters lived in a house in my village that didn't have electricity. So this guy, similar guy, he spent 32 years living alone in a forest with no electricity or running water. He's called Friedman Sonneman, and he lived in a mud hut in the woods and just wanted to live there and care for rare plants.
But he's got 4 hectares of land.
Yeah, so he grows
food. Which is a fairly substantial amount of... That's like a proper-sized farm, right?
Yeah.
And he's also got solar panels, and he's got a washing machine, and then all these things that, as the story goes on, you think, oh, okay, and he's got people living with him all the time. There's like 8 people who work in there.
He's got Netflix.
Contracted out everything.
He's got
a mobile phone mast. He's got a Dell XPS
he's
laptop.
Got Disney Plus. He's probably watching us right now. Hey, mate!
Finally in the Star. I love this because this character, Sasquatch, used to appear in all newspapers when I was young, and I haven't heard much.
Yeah, he's sort of...
Apparently he's the original species of Earth.
Well, according to this person's blog, Bigfoot Hunter says humanity is an alien species that took Earth from the Sasquatches here. And he's saying that... So he says here, Bigfoot are more than likely the true original intelligent inhabitants. Now, the phrase there, more than likely, is doing a lot of work. Actually backed up by any statistic. And he's also saying they are the true custodians of the Earth, not us. So maybe they can pay reparations.
Well, if they're the true custodians, they're doing a lousy job, aren't they? We're off the hook.
Are all the primate relatives that came before us and are related to us, are they aliens as well?
I guess so. Yeah, maybe it's not explained here. Strangely,
big spaceship.
You've already poked a hole in this story. What are you doing, Leo?
Well, that's all for tonight. Thanks to my guests, Leo Kearse and Josh Howie. Make sure you tune in again tomorrow at 11 p.m. Be Simon Evans, Leo Kearse and Sasquatch. Actually, no, Carrie Marks. Take care out there, folks. It's been a pleasure. Or enjoy your day if you're just starting it with us tomorrow morning. Today, good night.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me.
And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. There's never been a more interesting but also critical time in British politics, and I can't wait to bring you the biggest stories of the day with the best factual accuracy and also a few of my own opinions thrown in. We'll engage in passionate but always polite debate with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Monday to Thursday, 10 till 12 on TV, on radio and online.
Tonight on Farage, as rumours swirl about a new Swiss-style relationship with the EU, we'll ask, is Brexit being betrayed? We'll celebrate the football today. Terry Butcher, former England captain, a man who played in 3 World Cups, will discuss the 6-2 win against Iran. And joining me on Talking Pints, the founder of Pineapple Dance Studios, Debbie Moore. But before all of that, let's get the news headlines.
Hello, good evening. I'm Tamsin Roberts in the GB Newsroom. Wales are back in the World Cup for the first time since 1958, with kick-off just underway against the United States in Qatar. Earlier, England won their opening match against Iran, winning 6-2 with goals scored by Bellingham, Saka, Sterling, Rashford and Grealish. Both England and Wales, along with 5 other European teams, decided not to wear a rainbow-coloured anti-discrimination armband in their matches. It's over concerns players may be penalised with a yellow card on the pitch for wearing a non-sanctioned kit. Well, these England fans say they're happy with the result.
I thought they really pulled it out of the bag. It was a bit of a slow start, but once they got going, they really got going and they just couldn't stop them, really.
We were expecting all that negativity, flat back 5, but no. Goals, football, intensity and, strangely enough, comfortable win.
If we'd have carried on, it could have been 8 or 9, but we'll settle for that. Fantastic performance. Can't really criticise anyone. Just thought everyone was pretty faultless.
The Prime Minister says re-establishing stability is the critical first step as he set out plans to stabilise the UK economy. Addressing business leaders at the Confederation of British Industry Conference, Rishi Sunak said he was placing innovation at the heart of his government agenda. He told delegates controlling inflation was critical to improving living standards and to putting the economy on a stable footing for the future. A court has heard a woman who left London to join so-called Islamic State 7 years ago was influenced by a determined and effective ISIS propaganda machine. Shamima Begum's lawyers says she should have been treated as a child trafficking victim. The 23-year-old is appealing the removal of her UK citizenship after it was revoked when she was found in a Syrian refugee camp. She has denied any involvement in terror activities. Human rights lawyer Harjap Singh Bangal says Begum should be treated the same as a British citizen.
The issue is, if she's a British citizen, which she is because she holds a British passport, or she did hold a British passport, a British citizenship, then should she be treated like other British citizens, or should she be sent to a country where she's not born in, she hasn't lived in, just because the basis that her parents came from there?
162 people have been killed and more than 700 injured in an earthquake in Indonesia, according to local officials. The epicentre of the 5.6 magnitude earthquake was the West Java region, about 75 kilometres from the capital, Jakarta. Rescuers are trying to reach survivors trapped under the rubble after at least 25 aftershocks hit the region. The comedian Joe Lycett, who claimed to have shredded £10,000 in protest at David Beckham's World Cup role, says he didn't actually do it. The comic filmed himself giving the former England player an ultimatum of standing down from his position as Qatar World Cup ambassador, or he would destroy the cash, which could go to LGBT charities. TV, online and DAB+ radio. This is GB News. Now it's back to Nigel.
Good evening, everybody. Now, we've got lots of happy things to talk about tonight. The extraordinary 6-2 win in the first game of the World Cup against Iran. That's pretty cool. We'll be talking about dancing and Debbie Moore's success in business. So lots of happy things to talk about, but let's start with this subject. Yes, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I know you hoped we'd never need to discuss Brexit again, that it was done, it was over. Get Brexit done, we were told in 2019, but I'm sorry to say that it hasn't gone away. Big front page story yesterday in the Sunday Times from what was said to be a very well-placed source, hinting that perhaps we'd go for a Swiss-style deal. Now, the Swiss deal with the European Union is complicated and actually is headed towards being really part of the single market, which means your rules would be aligned. It means annual contributions to those people in Brussels. It also means effectively free movement of people. Anything along those lines would be a betrayal of Brexit. But you could argue, you really could argue, that to some extent Brexit, we've been rather let down by this Conservative Party anyway. Apart from getting us out and reversing the status quo on membership, what actually, in the 6 years since the referendum, have they delivered? Have things improved for Britain's fishermen? No. Have things improved for our 5.5 million men and women running small businesses or acting as sole traders? No. Have things improved in our huge financial services industry that employs so many people and raises so much revenue? Well, to date, from what I can see, not a single regulation has been changed. Has immigration changed? Well, no, actually, legal immigration, net, is still running at over 250,000 people a year. If you have a look at the small print of Jeremy Hunt's budget last week, you'll see they intend it to carry on at that number. As for illegal immigration across the English Channel, well, I think maybe you've heard enough from me on that subject for just now. So there is a feeling out there in the country, amongst many that voted for Brexit, that actually it's not being done properly.